Welcome in live for the 27th edition of the Ice Pick Sports Podcast. I am joined by my friends Matt, Jake, and Martin for this very special podcast for a couple of us. And we are going to recap the NFL playoffs. We're going to preview the conference championship games coming up. And we're also going to talk some NHL after that. So, boys, are you ready to get started?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Do it. All right, let's go ahead and run through the games that happened this past weekend. And let's go ahead and start with the first one. The LA Rams at the Green Bay Packers, with the Packers winning 32-18. And my opinion right now, the Green Bay looks like the best team in the league. Aaron Rodgers goes for 296 yards over the air, three total touchdowns. And Devontae Adams still gets 9 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown on Jalen Ramsey, which is really good in my opinion. Any takeaways from this game from a Green Bay perspective from y'all?
After this game, I said put your futures on the Packers to win the Super Bowl. I have not been on the Packers train for the whole season. They're kind of one of those teams I kind of sit back and watch a lot. But the last 3-4 weeks, they look unstoppable, especially at home. Martin, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree, and it's going to be nice because this upcoming championship game is going to be Rodgers' first NFC championship game, conference championship game at Lambeau. So yeah, while they're at home, it's hard to bet against them. It's hard to root against them at any point. So we'll just see if that defense can hold up.
Yeah, and real quick, we did sweep the NFL this weekend. We are now 6-1 in the playoffs, and our one loss was our bias pick on the Titans, unfortunately. So we've had a good feel this whole playoffs so far. Luke has been killing it. We didn't play the Bucks. Luke was begging me to put the Bucks on the card. We didn't. I should have listened to him. But yeah, we've been killing it. Nice 3-0 sweep this weekend, 6-1 total.
Yeah, the Bucks. I was passionate about. It was one of my pod plays, but some of y'all were doubting me. But let's go ahead and go to the next game. Tampa Bay at New Orleans. Tampa Bay wins 30-20. As I said, I told y'all Tampa Bay would win. But I think the real moment in this game is when Antoine Winfield forced the fumble from Jared Cook, and the Buccaneers went down and hit Leonard Fournette on like a 3 or 4 yard pass route and pretty much took control of the game from there. Anything that impressed y'all from Tampa Bay from this game?
Fournette, he was like the majority of that offense for a pretty decent portion of that game. I am like not really opinionated on him, but it is kind of good to see, the Bucks do have other options besides, their slew of wideouts. So if they can run the ball well, definitely not saying they're going to beat the Packers, but you got to think it just gives them, one new level to be a threat to hopefully make that a game.
Yeah, and one thing that we were all talking about before the game was, can Leonard Fournette play like he did in round 1 of the playoffs? And he did. So that really impressed me. We'll see if he can do it against his Packers defense, though, who looked pretty stingy this weekend.
But yeah, I really liked how Tampa Bay's defense played. I don't think, you look at the stats, Tom Brady didn't go off like how we expected him to, but the defense held their own. Carlton Davis held Michael Thomas to 0 catches, called him Slant Boy, which was pretty funny. And then Antoine Winfield, dude, MVP of the game. That was a complete momentum change. Punching that ball out of Jared Cook's hands. And that was a game. It was stellar performance by the defense.
Luke, did you go to high school with him or something?
Yeah, I went to high school with Antoine. He was in my prom group senior year.
Ooh.
Nice.
But
Luke, I think is not in the playoffs.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was talking to my friend the other day, and I was like, "Yep, that was my friend in high school, and now he's in the NFL balling out, and I'm here."
The funniest thing about Jawan Williams getting drafted by the Patriots was, in high school, I thought he was the most overrated player ever, even though he went to my high school. And he went to Vanderbilt, who I hate Vanderbilt. All of us hate Vanderbilt. And the Patriots traded up in the second round. And I told my roommate, I said, man, whoever the Patriots draft here is going to be a Hall of Famer. And then they drafted Jawan Williams, man. I lost it. But best of luck to him. I like him. He's a great guy.
All right, let's go ahead and move forward to the two AFC games. The Baltimore Ravens played at the Buffalo Bills, but couldn't muster a touchdown as the Bills won 17-3. The Bills offense only scored 10 points in this game. Very unimpressive. Good defensive performance by the Ravens, but it really took a 101-yard interception late in the third quarter by Taron Johnson to really seal this game, and Lamar Jackson leaving early in the fourth quarter with a concussion. But one question I wanted to ask was, do you guys – Lamar Jackson's going into his fourth year, possibly 5-year rookie deal if they pick up the fifth year, which I would expect them to this offseason. Would y'all give an extension, a big money extension to Lamar Jackson this offseason, kind of like the likes of Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, who are going into their fourth year this past offseason and got their contract extensions?
Quick question. Do you mean like on the same money level as like Deshaun and Mahomes, or just based off the timing of it?
I mean, I'm sure he's probably going to ask somewhere around Deshaun, maybe a little bit less because he did win an MVP. Deshaun Watson has not. So probably around in that same ballpark. What do you guys think? I mean, I'm on the train that you don't give Lamar Jackson any sort of an extension this year, this offseason, and kind of bite the bullet if he proves you wrong in this next season. So I just wanted to get y'all's thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he wants to be there. So I totally think it's fair to be like, hey, let's give this one more year. We'll see how things pan out. I obviously don't know if Lamar is a very like understanding guy or anything like that, but I think it's pretty reasonable to say, hey, we'll give it one more year. We'll try to give you maybe another weapon on the outside, try to back you up a little bit, and then go from there.
Hot take. I don't think Lamar is very good. I think
Not really a hot take.
Let me explain something real quick. And this is a hot take, and probably no one is going to agree with me here. But not last year, but the year before, I watched the Ravens absolutely destroy the Titans. And I think that game they had like 9 sacks or something. But you know who destroyed the Titans? Joe Flacco. Then the Titans went and beat Lamar Jackson twice. And then finally, a couple weeks ago, Lamar Jackson goes and beats the Titans for the first time. Joe Flacco is scarier than me on that Ravens offense than Lamar Jackson is. He just like against some teams. Look, that's a hot take. I don't care. Against some teams, yeah, like I get it. Like you can't stop a running quarterback. Lamar Jackson has never scared me playing the Titans, and I know he just beat us in the playoffs. But dude, the dude cannot throw the ball. He can't. The only reason he can throw the ball is because everybody's playing the run. Like that's the only time he can throw the ball. So
here's what I would do. What I would do is like don't extend him just yet. Sign him a great wide receiver. Like, yeah, Hollywood Brown is pretty good, but like I need him, like he needs help out there. And if that like if they have a connection there, and if he like gets to the next level because he has a better receiver, then you extend him. But like as of right now, like I wouldn't do it just because like it becomes into like kind of like a money problem. But like I need to see Lamar Jackson have a stellar wide receiver first before I extend him into the long run.
Right. And I guess the thinking would be if you're wanting to sign him to an extension this offseason would be to save money in case he does go off for another MVP like season this next season. But I agree with you, Martin. I think you need to commit to having better weapons around him. First, like signing someone like an Allen Robinson who will probably be a free agent this offseason. To really before you can say I'm going to put my whole franchise into his hands for the next 5 years. But moving on, we'll go to the Browns and Chiefs, where the Chiefs won 22-17. But Kansas City's offense wasn't as sharp offensively as what we were expecting. Maybe a little rust from the long layoff because most of them didn't really play a whole lot. They're week 17, and
Packers look pretty good.
I mean, it was okay. They couldn't finish a lot of their drives, which ended up being 22 points. But the thing is, I think what most impressed me the most was their defense at limiting this Browns offense. This Browns offense was clicking on all cylinders last half of the year, especially into the playoffs. We saw what they did to Pittsburgh. No offense, Martin, but I think I'm really no offense, but I think it was impressive from the Kansas City defense, kind of like what we saw last year, where their defense really started to step up at the end of the year, and especially in the playoffs. Once again, they stepped up this past weekend in the playoffs, and I think it's impressive. But they're going to be really put to the test against the Bills team next week, where the Bills were also kind of struggling on offense.
Yeah, I agree.
Are great.
But we'll go ahead and start talking about next week, and let's go ahead and start talking about Kansas City and the Buffalo Bills. It's at Kansas City. I pulled up the weather. Right now, it's calling for rain showers in Kansas City, which I don't know if that bodes well for both teams, because both teams are kind of struggling to run the ball, more so the Buffalo Bills, which haven't been able to run the ball pretty much all year long. But I think the big, obviously the big question is Patrick Mahomes going to be healthy enough to play this game, as he did leave last week's ball game with a concussion. But they're reporting on ESPN that he's already starting to make good strides to be able to start this upcoming weekend. But I think a couple of us are split on this game. Let's go ahead and go with Matt. You want to go ahead and start with explaining your stance on the Bills?
I like the Bills here, and I haven't digged into any stats yet, so I'm not going to make official plays here. But I like the Bills in this spot. I think the Bills are a really gritty team. I think they have that it factor that I don't think Kansas City has this year. Kansas City is just missing something that they didn't have, that they weren't missing last year. And you can't really put your finger on it, but the Bills had that this year. The Bills just want it more. And, I wasn't on the Bills for most of this year, but they are the hot hand right now. With that said, Luke, you're 100% right. They can't run the ball. They got to find a way. Devin Singletary
led their team this past weekend against the Bills with 25 yards total rushing.
Yeah, and he was on my fantasy football team, which was a horrible pickup for me this season. But somehow he's got to get going, or somebody has to get going. Josh Allen needs to get going. He has been great rushing the ball for them, honestly. He's been better than any of their running backs.
I agree.
But I mean, they got to get this game. They got to get it done through the air. Like that's how they've been beating teams, and he's just going to have to put the team on his back there. And Diggs is on fire right now.
Hasn't been the whole season, but yeah, I think Diggs and Devontae Adams are right now the two best receivers in the game, which is kind of a slight to Tyreek Hill because he hasn't really done anything to discredit himself as one of the best receivers. It's just Stephon Diggs' route running is on a completely another level. But if it is going to be a rain shower in Kansas City this weekend, I think that really helps out the Chiefs, because if you can limit, if it's going to be pouring down kind of heavily, I have more faith that the Chiefs can stop the Bills running the ball and passing attack than I have with the Bills stopping Kansas City offense.
And one thing I'm going to say, if we were going into the playoffs last year, we would have said the exact opposite thing, because the Bills defense going in the playoffs last year, or at the end of the season last year, the Bills defense looked great. Like they had a good defense all year long. And on the other hand, Kansas City didn't really have a good defense for most of the year. And then in the playoffs, they turned it on. So it's interesting to kind of see the scripts flipped from last season to this season.
Right, I agree.
Thoughts on that?
Jake, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, so the running the ball thing is kind of an interesting point. I mean, even when Zach Moss was still in, like the Bills just didn't run. Like I think Matt said, Josh Allen was basically their best halfback all year long. And the Chiefs, I mean, I know Clyde's been battling some stuff. He didn't play last week. Is he supposed to play?
I haven't really checked up on that.
Okay, because I know they were talking about it being like 50-50. If Clyde plays and obviously Pat's, at 100%, I find it hard to say no to the Chiefs. I get the whole like storyline of the Bills want it more, but I mean, these guys are professionals. Like I don't think anyone at this point in the year in the AFC title game wants it any less than another guy. Also, I mean, beating the Browns in that fashion, if you didn't like want it before that, I think that game gave you a little pep to your step. You're like, we battled, you kind of had our backs against the wall a little bit. I'm going Chiefs here. I haven't really, like Matt, I haven't really dug into any of the stats, and so I'm not going to make an official prediction, but definitely leaning Chiefs as of right now.
Now, to hit on that real quick, one thing that's been interesting, especially with these lines and seeing the public, what they're on, where the money's at, all that sort of thing, is that teams that looked really good the week before, all the money's going to them, and they're not covering. The team that looked not so good, example A, the Washington Redskins against Philadelphia Eagles in Week 17.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was on Tampa. We took Washington. They looked great against Tampa Bay. They did. And Tampa Bay didn't look very good against Washington. And what did they do? They looked great last week. So I'm just saying, it's the NFL. Anything can happen.
Wait, so wouldn't that support the Chiefs then?
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, it would.
Okay.
I
we're
mean,
just talking shop here, Jake.
definitely anything could
okay.
happen.
I still like the Bills. So
Yeah, I think it's gonna be the best. I think it's the more intriguing game of the two. Josh Allen's he's so fun to watch, but I mean, who's better to watch than Patrick Mahomes? He's literally can turn it on, flip the switch whenever he wants, and that's why I hate going against the Chiefs in any fashion. That's why I'm probably gonna roll with the Chiefs if Mahomes is in there. That means he's gonna be ready to play, and I mean, just we saw. They may not have. You could say they don't want it more, but you could tell they're fiery. I mean, we saw Tyreek Hill on the sidelines shove his coach. I mean, like that's fire. That's intensity right there. But I mean, I just have a hard time going against this Chiefs team, especially if their defense is going to play the way that they did last week. And this Bills offense really struggled against that Ravens defense, which that we've seen. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the Ravens defense. I think they're a little overhyped, but they were playing well at the end of the year. So let's go ahead and move on to next game. Unless, Martin, you got anything short, sweet you want to say on this game?
I just don't see how Stephon Diggs gets stopped by Kansas City. That's the reason why I'm kind of on the Buffalo Bills. But at the same time, you can say the same thing for the other side, like with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So it's going to be a good game.
I mean, at this point in the season, we're at games where one mistake determines who covers and who doesn't. One mistake. That's it.
Right. Because if any team, I think in this game, especially, you turn the ball over, the other team's offense has the ability to just score at will.
And even more so in this next game we're going to talk about, Green Bay, Tampa Bay.
Right.
You got two extremely elite offenses just going at it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. Green Bay, 3.5-point favorites, over under 51. Like we said, Green Bay beating the Rams 32-18 last week. Tampa Bay impressively beating the Saints by 10, 30-20. But what a battle of the quarterbacks it is once again this weekend. Rodgers versus Brady after Brady versus Breeze the weekend before. Just a treat to NFL fans across the country, across the world, to see these two guys going to be able to go at it once again. But like you said in the beginning, Martin, first time Rodgers will be hosting the NFC Championship game in Green Bay. So I pulled up the weather, and they're predicting snow showers in Green Bay, 40% chance. So we could have a rain game and a snow game this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Brady's Rodgers. I mean, what other two quarterbacks could you pick in cold weather? I mean, both of them are great in cold weather. This is a marquee matchup for a snow game. Maybe Big Ben.
I mean, to be quite honest, guys, I think this is the exact Final Four that the NFL wanted, just because of all the storylines there are to it, just the great quarterback play there's going to be this weekend, the great offenses, and still really good defenses left in the field. But I think the defense is obviously going to be the key this weekend for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because this Green Bay offense is just flying on absolute all cylinders. They have been all year, but we saw earlier in the year that the Buccaneers know how to defend them. They shut them down really well in the regular season, but this Green Bay team has just been on a different type of tear since then, and I think it's just going to be really too much to stop at some point in this game. What do you guys think about this?
I agree. I love the over for this game, because I think the Packers are going to put up points no matter what. And I think Tampa Bay is going to have to put up a lot of points to keep pace. I think this is going to be a shootout.
Absolutely.
That's my initial thoughts on this game.
What do you think about this game, Martin?
Like it's so hard to pick like a team here because like Aaron Rodgers has been playing better than Tom Brady, but at the same time, Tom Brady has more weapons. Tom Brady has a better defense. So, but they're playing in Lambeau. It's just like it can go either way. Just like a championship game should. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how Carlton Davis from Tampa Bay, the cornerback, does against Devontae Adams. I mean, he did a great job last time they faced this season, and I feel like he's kind of like underrated or underappreciated. Like if he gets to shut down or does a better job shutting down Devontae Adams than Jalen Ramsey did, like I think it's about damn time Carlton Davis gets the recognition he deserves.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that, Martin. Jake, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, y'all keep talking about the Packers. Obviously, the past few weeks have just gotten better and better, and they're on an absolute tear. But I mean, the Bucks have gotten so much better the past few weeks too. I mean, I feel like it's been kind of a gradual uphill for them all year long. And this is a typical Tom team. You know, they get into the playoffs kind of by the skin of their neck, skin of their feet.
Mm-hmm.
What's the quote? What's the line there? They make it in, and then now they're hot, right? They look great. The defense is playing awesome. Tom could have looked better, but like Martin said, Aaron's looked better than Tom, but Aaron's had to look better than Tom. He's had to play at this kind of a level for the Packers to be this good. I feel like this would be the game where the Bucks would kind of be discounted a little early. Maybe I'm just saying that because I have the future on the Bucks, so I'm a little biased there. But I think it's going to be a great team. I think the Bucks are rounding into shape damn near just as much as the Packers are. Obviously, if they both made the NFC Championship game. So, yeah, great storyline. You can't ask for two better QBs than this. So I'm leaning Bucks right now. But yeah, it's gonna be a good one for sure.
So one interesting aspect of this game is actually, to me, the coaching matchup, because we have Matt LaFleur, who was a terrible offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans once upon a time. I don't think he's that good of a coach, but at the same time, I don't think Bruce Arians is a good coach either.
I would agree with that.
I'm going to be completely honest when I say I think these are the two worst coach. This is the worst coaching matchup in an championship game that I've seen in a very long time.
Like, dude, Jason Garrett versus Mike McCarthy back in the day, if y'all can remember, a few years back, that was a pretty gnarly NFC coaching matchup.
Yeah. Oh, Luke, Winnipeg just tied it.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry. Colette's coming for next out here.
Yeah, he is coming for next.
Hope Matt and Bruce don't watch the show.
I'm not a big fan of Bruce Arians either. I think he's kind of a ding-dong, but
I agree, but I also feel like you're working with grown men. I feel like it's kind of good that he just lets them, kind of do their thing. I feel like sometimes that's the best way to go about it.
Matt LaFleur is the type of guy that I could see paying recruits.
Yeah, he's really Tennessee born and bred. All right. Yeah. On that sour note, let's go ahead and move to some hockey.
Wait, hold on, real quick.
All right.
Before we move, hear me out, boys.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Pruitt, Tennessee Titans defensive coordinator.
Okay, Luke, we can go. We can move on,
dude. I love the idea, but let's go ahead and move to hockey. I don't want to go into a deep state of depression in the next 30 minutes.
Oh, come on.
Dude, I like the idea, though. I don't think it's a bad idea. All right, Matt, you want to go ahead and talk about undervalued teams, overvalued teams that you're noticing so far in the first week of the season, first 5 days of the season.
So, really, hold on. I'm
6 days.
sending out the tweet saying we're talking about hockey now.
I'm going to just throw my shit on mute. I got nothing to add here. I'm just going to be a pretty face. All right?
I was going to do the same thing.
I can check back.
No, Jake, you sitting here and you ask some questions too. And
asking no fucking
come on, we're going to talk some Russian hockey in a minute. That's your favorite.
Yeah, it is. Lokomotivo.
Yaroslav. Let's go. So real quick, this week is really interesting because we're on like day 4 of the season. Yeah, I'm losing count. But we're on the second series for each team for the most part. And so it's really interesting. You don't know who's good, who's bad, who's overrated, who's underrated. Because, for example, teams that I'm really watching closely this week: Detroit, Columbus, Carolina, Nashville. Unfortunately, the second Carolina-Nashville game got canceled. But the Canes dropped one to Detroit, and the Preds beat Columbus twice. So initial thought here is that, maybe the Preds are better than we thought. And I'm a Preds fan, and I thought they were going to be terrible this year. I don't really pick them very often just because I got some bias on them. But they looked great against Carolina last night. They lost that game, 4-2?
Yeah, 4-2, but they really did look like the better team through 3 periods.
Yeah, and honestly, they should have won that game. They hit some posts. I mean, it was a game of luck. But
I think Philip Forsberg said it best, and which is the thing about hockey is some days you could win when you play like crap, and then some days you win or you lose when you play like the better team for 60 minutes. It's just kind of how hockey is. It's if the goalie's hot for the other team, then there's nothing you can really do much about it.
Yeah, and so I think what we're getting into, which is a really interesting point of the season, is that there is so much value on these teams because if you can figure out who's actually good and who's not good, like for example, tonight the New Jersey Devils are beating the Rangers. Everybody, including myself, thought the Rangers were going to be awesome. Well, the Devils go out and steal a game from Boston, so we're like, okay, is New Jersey good or is Boston bad? Or is it both? Are they even? And I'm kind of leaning towards the side that Boston is actually not very good this year, and the Devils are pretty good. So Mackenzie Blackwood for the Devils has been playing out of his mind too. He's been playing great. He's given up 3 goals tonight, but he's looked great. So that's kind of my thoughts on this week is like I'm kind of sitting back trying to figure out who's undervalued, who's overvalued. Like, for example, the Buffalo Sabres, the Flyers beat the Penguins twice. I don't think the Penguins are going to be very good this year. They're going to be above average, but they're not going to be great. So I think people were overvaluing the Flyers, and the Sabres dropped 2 games, and they shouldn't have dropped both of them. So they went out and they just beat the crap out of the Flyers last night. I watched that game. Luke, what are your thoughts on first 6 days?
I think you're kind of hitting the head on the nail on some of these teams. I think the biggest thing that you got to keep track of is this NHL season. The divisions is probably the biggest difference from year to year. But this whole you play 2 games against one team and then you go to the next team, play 2 games, kind of like a small baseball series. It's hard to predict because, one game you could beat them 5-0. Next game you can lose to them 5-0. Some teams are hot. It's kind of like with the NBA. Sometimes you make your shots one night. Sometimes you miss all your shots. But like we saw with the Blues Avalanche first series of their season, the Blues win like 5-1 first game, and the Avalanche win 8-0 the next. You kind of have to figure out what teams are kind of hot, and it's weird because after the first series for all the teams, there was only like 3 teams that didn't have a point. So it's kind of like you want to pick the team that didn't win the first game to win the second game almost at this point. But we're still going to try. It's one thing you got to figure out down in this season. What do you think about that, Matt?
Yeah, I agree. And another thing that's really interesting that we talked about before the season started was the teams with 2 goalies are going to soar way above the teams that only have 1 goalie. Like, for example, the St. Louis Blues are about to be in a lot of trouble. Jordan Binnington has looked terrible. The 8 goals he let in against Colorado, and then last night to the Sharks, he let in 4 goals, and only 1 or 2 of those were good goals, in my opinion. They're in trouble because they don't have a backup goalie. Their backup goalie has never played in the NHL. His minor league stats and stats from other leagues are terrible. They need to trade for a goalie badly. They are in a lot of trouble. Oh, and we just hit Winnipeg. They scored
2:40 left.
There's 2:40 left. I thought they were in overtime. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting teams. And speaking of 2 goalies, we took Winnipeg tonight, and here's why. They started their backup, whatever his name is. He's a great backup goalie. Even though Ottawa started Matt Murray, their starter tonight, I still like Winnipeg. Weird stat about Brassoi is that he has started the last 5 games for Winnipeg against Ottawa, and he's 4-0-1. So that's kind of why we like them there. But it's really interesting. In the Preds, like we talked about, they've looked pretty good through the first 3 games. They're 2-1. Rene played last night in our first loss, but he looks solid. Preds have two good goalies, and the teams like that are going to be scary. And then there's teams like Anaheim who have a great goalie in John Gibson, but they have no offense. They beat Minnesota 1-0 last night. That was the most boring game I think I've ever watched. Nobody could get anything going, but John Gibson just stood on his head the whole game.
I think if you don't have also in this year, if you don't have a hot goalie for a stretch of this like part of the year, you can get really screwed. I mean, take no better example than the Edmonton Oilers. They've let up 15 goals in their first 4 games, causing them to be 1-3. They have 2 of the best 3 players in the world, but they still can't win games when you have the goalie situation like they have. I picked them to win the North before the year, but as of right now, they're just – if you don't have a hot goalie, if you don't have a decent goalie, then you're not going to win games. And that's just proven to show up so far this season for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head. And going back to what we were saying about what I was just saying about St. Louis, Binnington has been awful so far this year. If he doesn't get hot at any point this season, I mean, the Blues are going to have to score 4 or 5 goals a night to win games. And that's exactly what the San Jose Sharks are having to do as well.
And it's what the Penguins have to do as well too. Their goalie situation is not good at all. DeSmith and Jari are not playing like they did last year, which is the reason why they gave up Matt Murray, who has actually looked pretty decent for the Ottawa Senators so far this year and is allowing the Senators to be in all the games that they've pretty much played. So which I think is a very interesting storyline to follow this year. But I think with the Penguins and the Oilers, and you could probably throw in the Avalanche too in that mix when if you don't have a number 1 goalie and you drop 3-4 games, you could really find yourself on the outside looking in with, trying to make the playoffs. Elliot Freeman of Sportsnet, the most renowned, he's like the Adam Schefter of hockey. He said the other day that teams who aren't in the playoff picture at the end of November, which is the first month and a half of a normal hockey season, you got a 10% chance basically of climbing your way back into the playoffs if you're not in it at that point of the season. And the reason because of that is the NHL is built off of parity and all these teams being so close to each other skill wise. And so it's really hard to battle your way up. There's really only a handful of bad teams in the NHL, and then the most of them have a chance to beat you night in and night out. No matter if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Washington Capitals or name one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And there's 2 teams that stick out in my head that could make runs and get hot at some point in the season that don't look good right now. The Columbus Blue Jackets, they have 2 goalies that are both very streaky. And if either one of them heats up, they're going to be riding the hot hand. What happened to Luke? Oh, hey, Luke.
What up?
I
don't know what.
And the other team that comes to mind is the Arizona Coyotes because they have 2 great goalies, and Ranta and Darcy Kemper. And you saw that Kemper pretty much single-handedly kept them in that game with Vegas last night, even though they lost. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about NHL-wise, Matt?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Martin, Jake, you got anything to add for the NHL?
All I'll say is I agree 100% with everything you guys said.
Y'all took the words right out of my mouth.
All right, are we going to talk some Russian hockey now, Jake?
Oh, let's go, baby.
Let's go.
You want to talk to a little bit how you go about Russian hockey, Matt?
Because Matt has been balling with that.
I don't want to give up my secrets, but Dynamo Riga first period over. It's I mean, if I only gambled on 2 plays ever, they would be Dynamo Riga first period over 1.5 and Ireland first half under 0.5 in soccer. Because combined, since I've been tracking those plays, they are combined 25-0, which is the most ridiculous stat I've ever heard anywhere. Like, you should just take Dynamo Rodriguez like next 10 games and just parlay the first period overs. Like, I mean, they were due for a loss at some point, and to be completely honest, I thought it was going to be today. Number one, it was unlucky 13. And second, they were playing Bars, who has the best defense. They went out and scored 2 goals against Bars. And they were playing their backup goalie, but he's still only averaging 1.5 goals a game.
Is Luke okay?
Yeah, what's wrong with Luke over there?
Capitals just blew it in OT.
I hate myself.
Oh my god. Blew a 4-2 lead.
Idiots.
Yes. Yes. All right.
But yeah, no, I have nothing to add to any hockey conversation whatsoever.
All right. Well, I think. Do you have anything college basketball wise, Jake? You want to talk about?
No, wish we had Andrew on. I feel like he would have a little more energy there. Me tracking college basketball at this point still remains to be just like betting wise. I feel like we're almost like we're still kind of getting in the flow of things from that. So no, not a ton to add. Tennessee got whipped by Florida tonight, which I mean, one, that hurts on a personal level, but two, what the fuck?
I think Tyler's right. We should put them on the no bet list for now. They haven't given us a reason.
I'm totally okay with that. No bet list.
Really put them on the bet list anytime. I think Michigan 10-3 against the spread, even though they got blown out by Minnesota a couple of days ago. But I think they'd be a good choice for the bet list. And
the NBA, you kind of mentioned it when you're talking about hockey, actually, but it's still kind of. I mean, like the Pacers are 8-5, and we're only half a game back from first in the East. Like, there's no necessary like levels to this yet. So yeah, I guess stay tuned just for everything basketball wise. But
it's just so tough right now, at least for me. I don't know the like identities of these teams just yet. Like it's just so hard to keep track of it, especially with football and everything going on. So it's just like we're slowly getting in the group, but like for right now, I'm just a casual bettor, to be honest.
I'm not gonna lie, the NBA felt like preseason basketball the first couple of weeks.
100%.
It feels like
100%.
You're down 30 points and come back and win the game. It makes no sense. I mean, I am terrible at basketball. That's my worst sport by far. I swear.
I thought baseball was.
No, I'm not that bad at baseball.
Okay.
But dude, I mean, these games, you're literally just throwing darts. I don't understand how people are hitting these. Maybe besides totals, but spreads. I mean, you're just throwing darts. These teams will be up 30 points and end up losing the game and not covering. It makes no sense.
Yeah, like I'm still at the point where if I go 2-2 in one night, I'm like, all right, cool. Only lost 0.2 of a unit or something like that. Like that's kind of the point that I'm at now. So we'll get there. It just might take another week or so.
So one thing, kind of go ahead, Luke.
I was just gonna say, college basketball is a lot more fun to watch than the NBA too. Which makes it a lot more fun to bet on.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm with you there.
I agree.
I feel bad for anybody who had that Baylor spread yesterday, though. What a way to lose.
Nope. No sympathy, no empathy. I don't feel bad.
I can't even point to the right screen.
Yeah, Baylor was a brutal beat. That it's one of those things that like you'll never forget, and you'll know exactly where you were when you watched it. And
did you see the Scott Van Pelt clip where he like tweeted it, and there like when the shot goes in, there's one dude in the corner that's like,
yeah,
like he starts spazzing out, and it's like, damn,
like
man,
throws his hat on the ground. You can hear like I listened to the clip so many times. You can hear like the crowd going, "Oh!" like so mad. Like I can't imagine like being if I was a Baylor like student at that game. Like I would have thrown my drink.
100%.
So pissed.
100%.
All right. Well, nice chatting with you boys. I'm glad we got to preview this NFL weekend. Make sure you tune in for our Thursday pod where we're gonna give our official picks for the weekend. What were you gonna say, Matt?
Martin's rant of the week. I'm ready for it.
All right.
You got a rant?
Yeah, for it. A little bit of a rant. It's kind of so. I was kind of just going to go off of like how the James Harden trade, pretty much. Like, give me the soggy sorrows. No, but it's just like, look, I'm a James Harden fan through and through. It's gonna be so much fun to watch him play in Brooklyn, but it hurts me because like he's having so much fun over there than he did here. And it's kind of like watching your ex just like move on and like
He
look
like with a
happier.
millionaire on Instagram.
Exactly, and just like, dude, like, why couldn't that be like here? Like, why couldn't James Harden do a better job recruiting and get KD here instead of Russell Westbrook? Or like, why couldn't he just move on? Why did he move on from CP3 so fast? Anyways, it's just like, it's just gonna take me such a long time for me to adjust to like us being like an 8 seed or 7 seed, or like being that scrappy team that can, like, be a bracket buster of some sort. But yeah, it hurts. It's gonna be a long process. So yeah.
Yes, Tyler.
And then for whatever reason, Spotify probably must have known I was sad today, because like it's Mac Miller's birthday, and Spotify on shuffle like just kept playing like Mac Miller songs. So yeah, rest in peace to a legend.
You are the saddest sports fan I know. I get like mad and pissed off and like throw shit. I feel like you just play Marvin's Room constantly. You just got it on a loop.
Yeah, I think the worst fan you could be is an Atlanta sports fan or like a Georgia sports fan.
Yeah.
But that's how it feels like to be a Houston sports fan right now. Like the Rockets are kind of like
Astros though,
and the Astros. It's like we're cursed right now, and the Texans.
You can't say you're cursed when you just having a championship less than 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's tough.
So
I also don't want to hear anything about trades. And this is coming up. Look, I hope Karis LeVert is like gets well, gets healthy, is fine. I want to make that abundantly clear before I say what I'm about to say. It just sucks as a Pacers fan that we traded away Oladipo, got Karis LeVert, and now he is a life-threatening, is it a mass in his leg? I mean, it's horrible. It's awful. It's so sad. It's just like one of those things. Like now I'm watching Vic drop 35 or whatever in Houston, so I don't want to hear like any trade shit.
Illegal trade gate. Legal trade gate.
Yeah,
we got the Rockets know about his mask. Did the Nets know about his mask? Legal trade gate. Follow up.
I like it.
Whereas the Pacers should be compensated a first-round draft pick. Nets should be kicked out of the playoffs. Wouldn't that just be hilarious?
Yes. Luke, I've never seen that on Twitter or anything like that, but I'm all on board with it now.
Postseason ban for the Nets.
Also, shout out to this is different, but Rico Bosco blocked me on Twitter.
I didn't even know who that was until an hour ago.
I've never tweeted at him. I've never DM'd him. I've never tweeted at him.
Jake was arguing with Dan Wolken on Twitter the other day, though.
Yeah, that was so great. Please
talk to Jake.
Yo, I kind of cooked him.
Talk about that.
For being honest, I kind of cooked him.
Jake was like, "Go like this tweet. Go like this tweet." And I was like, damn, Jake kind of roasted him. Honestly, like I was like, "Yeah."
Please talk about that, Jake.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we'll make this quick. I feel like if you were in the South and other places too, but like most of the South, Dan Wolken is just the worst. He's the kid that like if you were doing some shit in school or something like that, he'd go tell the teacher. If the teacher forgot to ask for your hold on. If the teacher forgot to say like, hey, turn in your homework, he was the kid that was like, excuse me, ma'am, like we had homework last night. And then she remembers you got to turn it in. Anyway, Dan Wolken is like just a piece of shit. He whines. I feel like he hates his job and he doesn't really like college football, which pisses me off because I fucking, would die for college football. So there was some radio host was saying like, we need to get these people that don't care about the sport out of the media of the sport. I tagged Dan Wolken in it. I figured he gets tagged in so much shit every day that he's not going to see the little old me. He saw it. And we went back and forth. It was probably like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 tweets each. I thought I won. That's just me. He's just kind of a prick. Like you can tell just by the way he tweets, he really thinks that he is. Take that off right now. Take it off. You just feel like the way he talks, he thinks he's really fucking smart, and it rubs me the wrong way. I hate him so much. And then at the very end, my last tweet was, "Hey, can you block me? Because I told my friends it would be funny." I explicitly asked him to block me, and he didn't do it. But Rico Bosco is just blocking people for no fucking reason at all. I don't even know this guy.
Yeah, that's so random. I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't know who Dan Wilkin was before like you went off on him.
Oh,
And
He's a
reading the
prick.
tweets, it was like Jake, like your tweets were hilarious. You like killed him, and then his replies were just so dry, and like you could tell this guy was like so salty about it. And it cracked me up.
Martin.
And also his like Twitter
every single day.
picture,
Dan
his
Wolf,
nips.
that's all he does. People just roast him all day.
Basic.
But Matt, have you seen like his picture on?
Yeah.
I think it's IG or whatever.
I have a buddy from high school. His name's Billy Derrick. He runs a podcast for Vanderbilt. It's like the Anchor Down podcast or something. He started in high school. It's pretty big, actually. And Dan Wolkin was on it. This is probably 1 or 2 years ago. He asked Dan Wolkin a question that Dan Wolkin didn't like, and he hung up midair.
On a
What was
college
the
student.
question?
Yes.
On a college student.
Yeah.
Was he trying to like fuck with Dan?
It was something that had to do about the Tennessee coaching search.
Which like
Wait,
that was where my hatred for Dan kind of started. Was
Right,
he was
well,
so wrong about that shit? And
That's all Tennessee fans. But I think the thing about Dan Wolkin is now that Trump's now suspended from Twitter, Dan Wolkin's now the most ratioed person in Twitter. And like everything he tweets, you just see like 60 comments and they're basically all like, fuck you, Dan.
so
You
funny.
suck."
And like I'm not a big Clay Travis guy, but the only time that I will always like and retweet his shit is when he just cooks Dan. It's my favorite content. Barrett Sallee does it. Clay
Oh.
Travis does it. And like those are like Barrett's a pretty like level-headed dude. He doesn't really go after guys. He goes after Dan though. And I love it. And I'm not like a coronavirus truther or whatever, but like Dan Wolkin is obsessed with the coronavirus.
Oh,
he
yeah.
wants it to kill somebody. Like
It's
I'm
everything.
convinced of that.
He's just so he can be like, haha, told you
Told
so.
ya.
Told you so.
Exactly.
I'm smarter than you.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's not what like talking about college football is about. At least in my opinion. That's where like
You're
I
right.
think Barrett Sallee does an amazing job because he's just like a normal dude, just chopping it up. So
You're right.
So
Fuck Dan Wolkin.
just quick question for Martin and Luke here. So who had the better roast, Jake versus Dan Wolkin, or me versus that guy on Twitter that was like talking trash without backing it up?
I don't know. I don't really care, man.
Jake, what was the best part about that roast? That you said
Well,
earlier?
yeah. So like the best part, and you can scroll back and like find these tweets if y'all are watching. But the best part about Matt
So
cooking
big.
this dude on Twitter is that he tweeted like 2 other times before it, being like, "Y'all just wait. Like I'm about to flame this dude." But he wasn't. He didn't put out the tweet for another like 2 hours. So we're just like sitting there waiting.
Dude, like all night, I was getting notifications, people liking that tweet. Not the one of like that guy getting roasted.
No, not
The
your
one
diss.
like, I'm about to put this guy in a body bag. Like you get like 40 favorites and the one roasting him only got like 20 something.
Ice pick sports, lots of talk, a little bit of action.
Yeah.
Like a little bit.
I mean, dude, look,
We
Our
Luke
bark's
has been
about
with
the
me
same as our
since day
bite.
one. Luke has been with me since day one, and in the last whatever how long it's been, 16 months or something. Oh yeah, every week there are dudes, pretty much every day now, just want to talk smack on Twitter. They just want to like out chase or something.
I'm sure that we're gonna get someone tonight about this Capitals bet.
100%.
I know, like
Well, the one
wouldn't
asshole
really-
that was like no one cares about the KHL. Why the fuck you on the page, bro?
Yeah,
Like,
we win in every way possible that we can.
nobody
Like, we were
understands.
taking Russian ping pong back in the day. The OGs
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, they do. I'm taking a Russian hockey for fun. Like,
Yeah.
Also,
forget
he
Russian
said
hockey, Russian ping pong.
William Hill doesn't have KHL. William Hill's like the biggest sports book on the planet, right? For like top few. I guarantee they have KHL. Like that dude was just flat out wrong.
well,
I hate
I just thought it was funny. I'm like, why do you reply? Like, what's the purpose of
dude, I'll bet it was Dan Wolkin's like burner or something. One of his 12.
Followed us.
You went at him. He made a burner account just to follow Ice Pick Sports.
Just to
There was a guy.
if one person starts to like respond to just all of our shit, just being like fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Tyler, god damn it.
I was actually about to give Tyler a shout out for being a little troll and saying Westbrook is better than Harden.
Okay, now
Fuck you.
in response to Tyler, real quick, he tweeted. I tweeted something about that guy, the KHL guy that was like hating on us, and Tyler was like Ice Fade Sports, but like, and the guy replied. Somebody random replied that didn't even follow us, so they were like more like Ice Cold. I was like, dude, you don't even know this guy. Like, this guy's kidding. Like, anyway.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up, boys. It was nice
Yeah.
talking to y'all. Like I said earlier, make sure you're paying attention for our Thursday pod around the same time. We're gonna give out our predictions for the weekend, talk a little NFL playoffs, NHL, college basketball, and much more. Anything else you guys want to add?
Bring Lane Kiffin back to Knoxville.
And Jeremy Pruitt to the Tennessee Titans.
I
Happy
love
birthday,
it.
Mac Miller.
Thank
All
you.
right, we'll see you guys later.
Deuces.
Peace.